Go. Well, hi, everybody. My name is Michael Hilkemeyer from ICT Solutions Australia. And with me today is who I like to consider a colleague of mine, Sandy Gardner. Let me just go through some of the things that you've done. She's been a teacher for over 30 years. A sessional tutor, a writer. She's an educational technology consultant and is an Apple professional learning specialist. Sandy Gardner, you're not only, who I consider a colleague, but you are a legend in this area with your knowledge and expertise. Welcome so much, and thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Michael. Really excited to be here and share a little bit about my journey and what really excites me about technology and education for our young people.
Awesome. Now, first of all, did I leave anything out there? It's only what I could see.
Yeah, no, I think that was I think you've probably covered it all there. Yeah, certainly done various roles in my teaching career, mostly, early on, my passion has always been early childhood and the arts. Along the way, developed that passion for technology and just seeing what it can do for our young people. I think I had I don't know where my own passion for technology came, but somehow or other it wound its way into there, and it's always been something that it has excited me and about the possibilities, and being able to look at how I can support teachers and students in that space. Yeah,
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that people like yourself and myself strive to achieve, to really provide that support for teachers who particularly who share that interest with us with integrating technology throughout their curricula. And it's just such a vital sort of knowledge area to grasp onto, being the rise of all these things these days. Most recently, we all know now, that AI is coming into society more and more, and into educational circles as well. And so I just think, people like yourself, play a vital role in being able to guide educators in the right direction. With our own expertise and knowledge in that area. So it's just, it's a real pleasure to be able to share that with us today. I think so. Now you are you're a consultant for Insight Technology Education.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
So how'd you get started into that? Is that just your own area, or?
Yeah, so it came about as just looking as something I felt I needed to do. As we talked about, I've been in the education department, state education system, for about 30 years. Number of different things happening in my life, with family, all sorts of things. Just was looking for something a little bit different. Felt I needed to move forward and follow, I guess, my dreams or my passion. There was never a point in my career early on that I ever thought I would have left the classroom, but I just felt that I needed to, take a leap of faith and try something different. So when I did that, there were some opportunities that opened up, and I was able to go into this space of following that passion of becoming an Apple professional learning specialist. And as part of that starting my own business, which is, and boy, coming from an education background, business is a whole different kettle of fish. So, so I'm now Insight Education because I've learnt that www.insight technology education is far too long for people to type. So it's
Right.
Insight Education now. And basically that is about, and I guess I'm still finding my way, but the work that I mainly do is going into schools and working with them as developing their vision about what they see as being their way forward into how they would like to use technology in their schools. So providing some guidance to the administration team, and then putting together some programs about how they can best support their teachers to embrace the technology, to support their students in a range of different ways, whether that be, to start with, perhaps it's just looking at the accessibility options. So how we can make learning more accessible for many more of our students, how we can really bring some creativity back into our education, and really offer a range of different opportunities for students to be able to show what they know and understand in a range of different ways. And I think for teachers, it's really about meeting them at their point of need. I think the schools that I do go in and work with, every teacher is an individual and they have varying levels of expertise. Some are very excited about working with me. Some are very extremely apprehensive. And it's, about meeting them where they're at, finding out what their need is, and just like we do with our students, tailoring a program that's going to help them to move forward and take them on that journey so that they can start to find ways that work for them, and then how they can start to make some changes in transforming the way that they teach and how that can benefit the students in their classrooms. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I mean, that sounds just pretty much up the alley that where we all need to go as educators, embracing that, the use of technology for accessibility and for amongst one of the top reasons. And it is just, as we were discussing earlier, it is really an area that I think will pretty much increase in its significance, as the years go on. We were discussing things like AI and other sort of new technologies that that many educators are now completely bombarded with. The rate of technological development is astounding, as you and I both know, and as we all know. It's a never-ending journey.
It is, and I think the real challenge is that we have these little people, and I've got 2 young grandchildren at the moment, and I guess having that opportunity to reflect on what they're seeing in the world around them, and we don't go out of our way to put technology in front of them, but it's there. They see their parents, her mum's a graphic designer, so she's always working on the computer. She's designing, she's being creative. It's, when I was growing up, I used to play offices because that's what my dad did. I'd, set up a table and I'd have my little stamps and I'd pencils and bits and pieces, whereas she's got her, wants to have the iPad and the this out and whatever else to play like her mum does. So we've got this generation of students growing up in this space that as adults, many of us haven't grown up that way, and it's scary because we have these conflicting ideas about what technology does. We have, on one hand, we have all these exciting, amazing, advances that we have when it comes to, what technology is doing for us in health and the changes that it's making. But we also have these terrifying things that are happening, and the scary things that are there for our children. And so I think for parents and teachers, it's this very difficult navigation between how we manage that with our students. So I think as educators, we've really got a tough gig in making sure that what we're presenting with our students and how we're welcoming them into our classrooms is providing them with an education that gives them the tools that they need to be using, but balances that with providing them with an opportunity to learn the skills that are going to ensure that they're safe for the future. And that they're able to balance their time and manage their well-being, because I think we know as adults that that well-being part of it, that balancing our time and not spending 24 hours a day in front of a computer screen is really, really important. So we need to model that to our students, and we need to teach them all of those skills. So boy, we're going to have to buckle in and and hold on for this ride. It's challenging.
And you are just so right on the point there, Sandy. Like, the generations that we grew up with are different to the ones that are right now, and that is just going to continue emerging. And so it just really strengthens the point, that how the importance of being able to educate educators on the effective and efficient use of technology in the classroom. Because in the end, no matter how much there is out there for us, we are all learners, teachers and students. We are all learners in this area, and as people like yourself might know as well, that we are always learning. There's always something new, and we would never know everything there is to know about technology that's out there. But I think as long as we can provide them with strategies and advice on the best practices, and go along on the journey with them, it's so important.
That's right. Yes.
And another thing too was that, like, I think you're so right when saying, like, back when we were kids, like, we were playing different things, like role playing what our parents would do with different sort of, even different types of technology, a dial phone back in those days. Today, like, it's no different, except that the technology is different.
That's exactly right. Yep.
And the development of digital literacy needs to begin in the foundation stage.
Definitely.
The foundation stage, modeling the use of technology appropriately, because particularly at that stage of learning, observation is one of probably the only way that they learn. And so modeling the proper use, the appropriate use of technology is just so significant.
Yes.
Do you have, like, what sort of strategies or technology do you sort of like to discuss in terms of that sort of learning area, in that sort of like in the foundation stage of education?
In the foundation stage.
Yeah.
So the kinds of experiences that I would engage students in, is that what you're thinking
That's
about?
correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think when it comes down to those things, I really value the creativity of students at that age, and being able to harness their observation skills. So I love the flexibility of the iPad to be able to go and use it, to take photos of their environment, to take photographs of themselves. I was working in a classroom the other day, and we were the students were taking a photograph of themselves and then using the drawing tools to turn themselves into a new character, that they could then make a story about in their writing. And it just was a different things that we've done in education forever and ever and ever, but it was connected to their learning because it was about themselves. It was simple to do. They were using tools that were quite relevant to them. Most of them knew how to take photographs. Some did have to learn a little bit about it, but most are quite familiar with those sorts of things. The drawing tools, they were still able to use, they were still using their fingers. So it was sort of that, bringing in those fine motor skills into there. That was really lovely to be able to do that. Learning how to choose your different colors and make your different colors and different things like that is a really nice and easy activity to be able to do with the students in that one. The other activities that I like to do with students are to be able to do that recording. So for me, I think one of the most valuable things about the technology is that, we were talking about that accessibility before, is to be able to get them to reflect on their own ideas and their learning. So being able to record their voice in response to what they're seeing or doing or what they understand about different concepts. So, being able to take a photograph of their work that they've done and then record, what their favorite part about it is, or their response to their science that they're doing, or their response to their book that they've just read, or something like that, where it's not heavily reliant on their ability to be able to hold a pencil and write a sentence, that they can record their own voice and be able to listen back to that and be able to share that way, which is great. It was lovely. One of the classrooms I was working in the other day, they've got a little boy who's mute when he comes to school. He won't talk when he's at school, but he's able to talk at home, but just at school. So his mum has helped him record at home an answer, to be able to answer when they call out the roll. So on his iPad,
that's awesome.
He presses the button to respond on his iPad when he's at school, and that kind of thing is just for me, the being the manipulatives and things like that are just so nice and easy. And don't get me wrong, that's not my be all and end all. I still believe that you have to have the manipulatives, you have to have the hands-on activities, but being able to do all of that, take a photograph of it, record something about it, add something about it, draw over the top of it and reflect on it is what I see as the powerful part about being able to use that technology with young students. In the early years, definitely being able to, provide those opportunities for them to do those sorts of things. There's many, I try and, when I'm working in schools, and I guess that's why I try and not add any extra costs. So I just stick to what basically it comes with the iPad. So I, really look at just what the features are of the iPad. So looking at just the camera tools, the drawing tools that are already on there. But there are some amazing apps that you can use, such as, your Puppet Pals, where students can create their own little puppets and record their own little theatres and little plays and things like that, which are just amazing, because it does give you a whole different insight into what they know and understand about different things. And early childhood teachers and all teachers have been amazing forever, but it makes it so much easier to be able to get around and see and reflect on what all children are doing, when you can go back and look at that work at a later date, rather than having to try and schedule in that time throughout the day to be able to see those things. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's being able to draw over like images, and I really like that concept of a child pressing the button when they want to respond is so good. Just simple things like that, the capabilities that come with tablet computers like iPads, really does help young children to be able to communicate the way that they need to be able to do.
Definitely.
It's so important. Are there any particular apps that you'd like to discuss for early childhood teachers?
Probably a couple of things that I think people don't necessarily realize when it comes to using technology. And please excuse me, because I am very iPad focused, so that's where I always go. That's because that's what I work with. But there are great things that are available on other tablet computers as well. But probably if we go back to the accessibility features to start with, and probably a couple of the things that I will just add to that is the fact that you've got your speech to text. So the fact that there's the accessibility of being able to go into your settings, and students can record their voice and it will type out the text for them. So that's a great thing. Working in an early childhood classroom with grade 1 students the other day in Keynote, and being able to create some simple little animations in there by using some of the animation tools that are in Keynote. So they could actually they drew a little character and could get it to walk across the screen or move across the screen in response to their poetry that they were doing is something I love to do. Chatterpix, can't go past Chatterpix, is an absolutely fabulous way of getting students to add their voice to inanimate objects, and by drawing the little line. That's an absolutely fantastic app from is it Duck Duck Moose, I think. That's a really great one. Duck Duck Moose. I think Chatterpix is an absolutely fabulous one. Book Creator has been around for so many years, and I think that's been a great way for students to go in, very early years students to go in and create their own books to show what they know and understand, and being able to respond and create their own books about any kind of topics. I think as you move up the grades, pages and things like that are starting to develop now and provide some great opportunities for students in there now. But definitely Book Creator is one of my absolute all favorites to be able to go into there. The Geo board, I don't know if you've come across that one, where you've got the hands-on little elastic band.
Oh yes, yep.
And what I love about all of those is that ability to be able to do your screen recording over the top of those, so students can be able to work in that space, but actually, again, being able to record what they're doing at the same time and explain, how they're going about creating shapes or what shapes they're recording. And again, if you take it as a photo, they can then go and draw over the top of it and add to it, or turn their square into a particular image or a picture. All of those sorts of things, I think, help many different areas of the curriculum. So they would probably be a couple of my top favorites for the early years, definitely.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
So moving on now to primary education.
Yeah.
How do you encourage teachers to be more proactive in using iPads?
Yeah, I think the best way to go about doing that is to share with them the ways. Number one, it's definitely looking at, well, let's start. Number one, if it's not going to benefit their students or benefit their teaching, there's no point even talking to them about it. So it's looking at, is it going to make a change to your students? Is it going to make the curriculum more accessible? Is it going to perhaps save you time in what you're doing? Is it going to allow you to claw back and allow you to perhaps work better with your students? So usually they say yes, that those are the sorts of things I'm looking for. So then we'd go into, well, what changes can we make? So looking at, usually start with looking at a particular area or learning area that they're interested in doing, and look at some little tweaks that we can make. So sometimes it's just about, well, to start with, looking at those accessibility features. So what changes can we make to make the curriculum more accessible for all your students?
Yep.
And sometimes that's just creating, a more accessible way of delivering the curriculum. So putting together a workbook that provides opportunities for students to access the information in different ways. So where a regular worksheet might just present it in written form, if we put together this workbook, the information might come to the students via a little video, or perhaps it comes to the students via the teacher providing a little audio recording. We also look at implementing ways that the way that students respond or answer the questions is different. So again, it's audio, or perhaps it's a video, or perhaps it's a written text, or perhaps it's a tick box, all different ways that we can change up how the students are responding. Yeah. And then it's, and then I guess, so that's sort of one side of it, looking how we can change that accessibility options. And then we're looking at, can we make it more engaging for these kids? Can we sort of turn this curriculum on its head so the kids are really excited about what they're doing? Can we, instead of doing the same old, PowerPoint poster, whatever, can we look at some other way that the students can present what they know and understand about this? Could we perhaps, look at creating a podcast? So could we teach them some podcasting skills, and can they present their information that way? If your kids are really into music, which, I was working at a school the other day and they said the kids are just so engaged, they'd rather do TikToks and this and that and the other. So we looked at, well, we can't do TikToks, but perhaps we could teach them GarageBand, and they could create, maybe they could create their own song that are based on a topic or something like that. So we pretty much just start brainstorming and looking at different ways, and then it's about me working with the teacher to teach them the skills, and then supporting them to put it together with the curriculum and look at making sure that we're covering all the different curriculum areas, and then working alongside them to deliver it to the students, so that and seeing how it goes. Sometimes it works really well. And sometimes we have to go back to the drawing board and make some tweaks and try again. But
but that's all part of the learning process, isn't it? So
exactly. Yeah.
You just don't know. Every situation is different.
It is, yeah.
Um,
And for some teachers, just saying that, for some teachers, it's just, connecting them to their screen and letting them see that they can teach, that they don't
yeah,
have to be out the front all the time. That sometimes it's just they could be standing next to that student who needs that extra support and needs that closeness, so
yeah,
it varies so much. It's little steps for some people, huge steps for others.
yeah, absolutely. And teachers, like students, have different levels of capabilities as well. So like some might be more advanced in their capabilities with technology, while others will need that little bit more, reassurance and things, and they'll get things wrong.
Mm.
But I think if by just sort of considering yourself as a learner and just saying, right, all right, got it wrong.
Yep.
How can we fix this the next time?
Yep.
What didn't work, what did work,
Mm.
and just work that way. It's just it's quite, it is just continuing.
Mm.
You mentioned GarageBand. Are there any other sort of apps that you'd like to sort of discuss, to primary teachers? Or
Yes, I was thinking I did leave a big one out. Clips. I should have
Clips?
mentioned Clips. Yeah, Clips is absolutely incredible for so many different things. If you would be familiar with Clips, I'm sure, Michael. So
Yeah.
as being a that lovely, easy sort of movie making app. And what I love about it is that it is so versatile. So it can be a teacher's way of providing information to students. So I have some teachers that, when we first start to go into Clips, it's about them creating a little clip movie to introduce a topic of work with all the different, and it's just so engaging. I worked with a teacher the other day who just wanted to change how they present their spelling each week. So she went in and she created this amazing little clips with all sorts of amazing things that introduced their spelling for the week. It was just, and the feedback she got from her kids was just, on point. She loved it. And then, the other part of it, posing questions to students that they can then respond to.
Yeah.
And then the other side of it is just, once students get to know how to use it, being a way that they can then, go and create their own little video, with everything from, choosing the filters, the stickers, the labels, to share what they know and understand back. And what's so lovely about it, I think, is that it can be done in, half an hour, or it can be a much longer project, and looks so professional so quickly. And gives students just another really good way of showing, what they understand about things. And like all of those things, when we start to provide students with different options and different ways of showing us what they know and understand, and we give them that little bit of a choice, whether they're using GarageBand, whether they're using Clips, whether they're using iMovie, whether they're using, a keynote or a PowerPoint presentation, or making some kind of animation, making a game, making an app. The engagement from students of being able to have that choice just goes through the roof. And I think it comes from having that ownership and that choice. And I think, we've got to start being a little bit less controlling somehow. I'm not quite sure how we do that yet, with all our, having to tick boxes and mark students and do all of that. But I think for education to continue to move forward, we're going to have to delve into this space somehow. Yeah,
Absolutely. And I think right again, that as educators, it's about freedom of choice. To allow students to be able to choose technology they want to use, an app, a software they show interest in. And as long as it's in the curriculum guidelines and they're able to achieve those learning goals, I'd say go for it. And I think the best thing that we can do as educators is to be able to allow ourselves to be able to do that. And brings me back to the point where this is all just a learning journey, but for us to be able to then allow students to do that, we need to feel comfortable with our own capabilities.
Yes.
And one of the things that I always sort of bring up is to just because there's so much technology that we are bombarded with, to pick one that you are familiar with, that the students are familiar with. Become familiar with it to such an extent that you are able to anticipate any problems in the future, and that you feel comfortable with a student saying, well, I want to go ahead and do this. Take it a bit further, a bit more advanced, this software, or try this more advanced, sophisticated software or program. So go for it. And feel comfortable that way in doing it. So you have brought up some great strategies there, Sandy. And then do you delve very much into at all any secondary education, or just in primary? Or
I've done a little bit of secondary. Yes, I've done a couple of secondary workshops with with a couple of projects. And that's a different space because I've never worked in secondary school, but when it comes to technology, I've realized that it's the same kind of world. So just different context and content, but we're still dealing with the same pedagogical issues, the same angst that teachers have. So it's just working a little bit differently, and it's not as scary as I thought it was going to be. And it's, I guess what it's shown me is that I can learn and grow in that space as well. And a lot of the things that we do that I've done in primary school still can be replicated in high school, but just with much more complex, I guess, content and context. So you're still making, you can still do some amazing animations with a more complex high school context, when you go think about in your science and looking at your different biological systems and processes and different things like that. So the specialist teachers bring their wealth of knowledge about their particular subject areas, and I just helped connect them with the technology practices, and we work together on the pedagogical frameworks that sort of are going to assist best to implement that with them. So it's been good. And I've really enjoyed that much more than I've thought. So and I guess university, working in the university with the university students as well, it was a great space with adult learners. And I guess that the early childhood training or the teacher training that I've had, you realize that it's the same kind of skills. It's about developing those relationships with people, having that understanding about what needs people have, where they're at, what they're wanting to learn, and making those connections for them, and then seeing what things that you can bring to them to help them in their goals. I have a real passion for robotics and coding as well. So when it comes
beautiful.
to that,
Yes.
so so that's a little branch that I'm starting to, it's always been there, but it's my next little part that
I was going to ask you
I'm
that
starting
because,
to starting to develop more now. So I've been just building up on that little process at the moment. So but I've worked with a few different when I was in schools, did a few competitions and different things with robots and students. And I guess the power of robotics and coding for me was just seeing, how the complexity of the work that students can do when you think that they're not really working at that level, or they're not engaged in what they're doing in literacy, but actually they can go ahead and they can understand what the level of content is for this particular program is, and unpack what the program is. I took a couple of years ago, I took three boys from the school I was working at who were, they had been in my prep class, or a couple of them had been in my prep class, really quite engaged, lovely boys. And as they'd gone through school, obviously school just mismatched for them. So they'd gotten to sort of upper years and were, your CD students, but they got involved in a robotics program that I set up, and they won the Australian competition in their age group. And then we went to China, of all places, and they came second in their age group over there. So, but for them it was, school, one part of school didn't quite fit for them. But there was certainly nothing wrong with their cognitive practices. They were able to solve problems and they were able to apply themselves, but just in a different way. And what being involved in robotics and coding did for them was, their self-esteem
opened up the door
for them, and they haven't looked back. So I did a lot of Lego We Do with the kids at the school I was at, and I guess one of the big eye openers for me was one of the classes I worked in, had a couple of tricky kids in there, and that never stayed focused. Were always always causing trouble with other kids. Just challenge. I was in there for 2 hours. We had a 2-hour session working collaboratively because they had to share. They had a set between two. Had to take turns, all of these sorts of things. These particular students, 2 hours, not one peak, not one issue, focused, took turns. So sometimes you just, it was a one-off, and maybe the next time it wouldn't have worked so well. But I think sometimes, it's that we've got to we've got to try some different things. We've got to challenge these kids. We've got to give them some things that are going to really maybe engage them and excite them a little bit about what they're doing in schools, and introduce them to some of these new technology. I've just been playing with a new the Vinci bot. Have you seen
yes,
the Vinci bots and the tail bots? And it's like the B-bot on steroids.
They're interesting, aren't they?
So I'm excited about. I've just written a lesson plan I've put on my website for a very simple one, but for a half hour or lesson to use it to create an introductory lesson, about a dance, creating a dance routine using the Vinci bot.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah. So with all the little colors and the lights and the different things that it could do. So, but so fun. And the tail bot for early years, with being able to record stories and words and things on it, I think that's going to be a real seller in our early years classrooms. So
oh, great. That's awesome.
So yeah, so watch this space.
Absolutely, Sandy. Absolutely. Oh well, yeah, it's just been a real pleasure to finally, get to meet you, Sandy. You have brought up some great, strategies, from early childhood to primary, and you've even started delving into secondary a little bit. And yeah, I think, such, strategies can go a long way, for educators to be able to really effectively and successfully integrate technology into their curriculum. And most importantly, being able to support, subject learning and develop, 21st century skills at the same time. So thank you so much for your time today. It's been such a great pleasure, and I truly mean that. It's been wonderful to meet you, and I hope to hear from you again in the future.
That's lovely. Thanks so much, Michael. It's been a pleasure to chat with you too. Take care. Bye. Ta-da. Bye.
If you liked this video and would like to know more about how you can successfully integrate technology in your early childhood learning environment, why not become a member of the ICT in Education Teacher Academy today and gain instant access to over 70 early childhood education teaching resources that includes online workshops, online technology integration workshops, webinar replays, lesson plans, and activity ideas for integrating technology in the early childhood learning environment. Become a member today for just $5.99 per month. Cancel anytime.